Amen.
Amen.
Okay. Minutes from the meeting, January 20th.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Correct a couple things.
You changed a couple things, Tony?
Yeah,
Found a couple things,
I second motion.
okay? Revised minutes are approved. Motion by Stan, second by Doug.
Well, Doug, what you were wondering, it was under HR coordinator. Already had it in there,
Okay, good. Thank you.
but there was one other thing I had in the final motion, but there was no action taken. I just said,
Okay,
so I took that.
good deal. Good deal. Tony, what else have you got for us?
Yeah, let's start with the payroll time cards that you should have received for January 16th for appointed department heads, payroll time card approval.
Do you have any questions on the payroll time cards?
I do not. Stan, if you're good, I move that we approve the time card payroll.
Motion by Doug, seconded by Stan. That motion passes.
And then we have the actual payroll claims. And those payroll claims are in the amount of $417,621.37, 417,621.37.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, motion passes. Motion by Stan, seconded by Doug.
Okay. I had passed out to you gentlemen prior to the meeting, the animal shelter report submitted by Mike and Cindy Heisler, if you'd like to enter that into the record. Looks like they have 4 dogs and 1 cat currently.
Move we accept the animal shelter report.
Second. Motion passes.
And then I also had passed out to you the animal control report submitted by Chad Sprunger. And it was 164 miles. And with a mileage at 0.725 per mile, 118.90.
Okay, on Chad Sprunger, 164 miles, 118.90. I move that we accept Chad's report for mileage as submitted.
Second. Motion passes. Motion by Doug, second by Stan.
It also passed out to you the utilities paid in Lao along with graph showing you last year versus this year. And the total amount of utilities paid in Lao for 1/26/2026 is $38,609.62.
Any problem with that, Stan?
No. Motion to approve.
Second.
By Stan, seconded by Doug. Utilities paid in Lauer approved.
Okay. We have, once again, this is becoming a thing, which is fine. But the Allied weekly health insurance claims, we still have a credit going forward. We would have had $30,434.74 in medical, $27,94.90 in RX. But the credit carried forward was more than that, so we currently have a credit of $63,279.10. I'll pass that down if you want to look at that.
Motion to accept that credit from Allied.
I move that we accept the Allied credit, both medical and RX. And very happy that we still have credit left, so I make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Doug, seconded by Stan. Motion passes.
Okay, and now, if you remember, we've made a change from CVS Caremark to Northwind RX administration. So there's going to be something different going forward. And if I need help getting through this, Shannon's out there to help with any questions that I can't answer. But we currently have 3 weeks of claims
Hey,
For-
Ethan, it's Mark Burry. How you doing?
for RX
No, not
to
too bad.
Northwind,
Down here to Commissioners,
and the total is 46,475.63.
County, is that something
Uh,
I can do with my laptop?
The
Get on
RX
that
claim
visitor
that you
internet
saw
with the
on
county, is that something I
Allied,
can do with my laptop?
we are looking at that to try to figure out what that is. Shannon's looking at it, Glenda's looking at it. We might have to give them a call. But it might be something other than what we're looking at with Northwind. So in the future, you
Okay,
should
I'll
have
to enter a password.
the weekly Allied and the weekly Northwind. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Didn't we have, Shannon with Northwind, didn't we have like an initiation fee?
CG.
We did, and that's not that. What we think it might be is
Okay.
it's like two.
Yeah, I'll check that
twofold,
out.
is
I
that
usually
one,
use my
yes, Allied charged
Cell
us
phone
more
to connect. I
to
forgot
have
to do it
Northwind as
today.
our PM compared to Caremark.
'Cause I used to
Like
be
the
on the
general
secure
monthly
network.
payment that we have, but then
There's some,
also
for whatever
Allied has
reason,
a
I can't
program
get on
called
there. I don't
managed
know why.
fees, which is when there's a significant cost to the
That's
plan.
fine.
Like a big RX charge or a big like medical event that one individual has, they'll assign like an.
Oh,
entity
no,
to
that's fine.
manage that.
That's fine.
And I think that that's
Okay,
what it is.
I'll have to give it a try here, see.
Sure.
I don't need a whole lot.
And that's different than a
I'll give
stop
it a try.
loss.
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay.
So we're looking into that, to see exactly what that might be, and we'll let you know once we find out, but my main thing was to tell you, we're going to have a Northwind RX claim weekly, and we'll have the Allied health insurance claims weekly. Since we changed pharmacy benefit manager, and that amount, it's for 3 weeks, and it's all on one claim, 46,475.63, and again, we do verify the claimants on that. Which State Board of Accounts recommended that we do, so those are verified, both Allied and Northwind.
Okay. Pleasure on that, guys.
Motion to approve.
Second,
Motion passes. Motion by Stan, second by Doug. Make sure that's it. I believe that is all that I have today. Okay. Nate, come on up.
Too much here for you today. Obviously, there's been a lot of construction going on. But, first item here is just the half-ton pickup vehicle for this. I'm requesting commissioner's approval of the quote provided by Freedom Motors. Pickup truck, the quote was $4,500.
we discussed that last week, took our advisement, now this is the official
It meets.
recommendation here.
Yep, it meets the specifications that we had requested, so with your approval, we'll proceed with that purchase.
I moved that, Nate proceed with the, Freedom purchase of $44,500.
Does that include the trade-in? I forget.
The
Trade-in goes to the highway.
Yep,
That's right.
the highway absorbed the truck into their fleet and wound up using that as one of their, as a replacement for
Yeah.
others, so.
Cause you wanted the heated steering wheel.
Yeah.
Doug, what'd you say?
Oddly
I
enough,
have
it's
the
not
cost
in
is
that, the
42,000.
feature package on.
I have 44,500.
I'll
I have
second that.
44,500 for Daniels.
Oh, no, wait, okay, no,
Well,
wait,
which is
we
which?
do,
It is,
okay, which one did we take under advisement last week?
Daniels did not turn in a bid. So it is for Freedom.
Unless I'm looking at something
No, I
different.
got,
We bid 2 trucks, right? We bid 2
This is
trucks?
something different.
This
no, we got a
is-
half ton and a 3/4 ton.
This is the half ton. It's probably on that form because you would have read that off when it was filled out, so.
So which what are we approving, the
You get the
42 or the
half ton.
44?
This is the half ton at 44,500. There was only one bid received for that from
Yeah.
Freedom.
Okay, we got a highway, do you have one?
I
Brad?
thought that
Yes, I have
highway,
one also.
Okay,
He has one
that
as well.
clears it up.
where was yours from?
Probably Freedom. as well.
Freedom
It was
also.
Freedom also, but we thought O'Daniel was going to, and they never turned anything in.
So that's where my
That's why
confusion,
that was
that's
on
why
there.
I'm
That's why
confused
it's
on that.
listed on there, but
But
it was not. a
For
number.
the purpose of Nate, it's 44.5.
44,500, okay,
Yes.
gotcha.
I forget where Freedom's at.
It is, they were the old Heidi.
I bluffed it.
Oh,
on
yeah.
Bluffton. Yep. They were.
Okay, so, I made the motion, Stan, I don't know if
I
you seconded.
seconded.
You did, okay. So we're good, Steve, on that.
So we're approved there at 44.5.
Right.
Thank you. A couple project updates, it says Culver, but it's Culver C 138. That's there on 500 east between 1000 and 1100 south. Ish Excavating replaced that, on January 21st and 22nd. They dug that out. Got that new one put in. It's on a gravel road, so they went ahead and patched that with a stone. That was open back up to traffic. And then they also completed culvert C 223. That's 400 north, near the West County line between 6 and 700 west. They completed that back on January 15th. So both gravel roads, one was closed for 2 days, part of 2 days. The other one was only closed for 1 day to try and do that work. So did a little bit of winter work.
Quick question on this culvert work. When they bid that, do they include any follow-up as far as the stone settling and coming back in and re-leveling?
A little bit of that. I don't have them submit like a warranty bond or like, just because that adds cost to the project. So most of them have been fairly good to come back and do some of the maintenance repair if we have an issue with it. Depending on what we want to try to have as far as furnaces. We set up a series of specs for compaction, so if I'm concerned that that's not packed well, or if the settlement shows evidence later on that there's a problem, we would go back to them. It is quoted, but it isn't, most of these are all individually small enough that we can invite those quotes, so if we have a repeated issue with a contractor, we don't necessarily have to invite
So
them back.
typically with the compaction, it doesn't settle that much anymore.
With being full depth aggregate, we don't have as much issue, but that's not to say that that can't be a concern. With the gravel roads, obviously it's gonna move around quite a bit because it is just all aggregate on a hardened surface. So, but if that's something the commissioners want is some sort of warranties, I can put warranty bonds into that, but it is a cost. Make sure that they're aware of it, and you're gonna pay. They're gonna transfer that cost on to us for that warranty.
Feels to me like you have enough leverage over them that you can make them perform, or they won't get another job.
We're trying to keep the money in the projects local, and so that's helpful. If I start adding more complexity, then smaller firms like Ish may not benefit. Yeah. So we benefit, but we also take a little bit of the risk when we do that. But there is, again, as to Steve's point there, we do have some leverage. Contractor to make sure that they want to provide us quality work because we're a regular customer.
I mean, like the culvert that you did on 300 north, where it was newly paved and stuff, let's say that settled,
Mm-hmm.
you know, over the winter or whatever. Would they come back and look at that, or would that be something we would have to have Brooks come back?
It's just, how long do you want to try to hold them responsible? Certain things that they did to the best of their ability. There's no way to know what secondary effects are. That's where we've got to work within that. Now, that just the case by case basis is about the best answer I can give you. So we'll look at those and give you our assessment of what happened and why it happened. And then if you want to do enforcement, then that would obviously come back to you if you would like to do that or not. So, yeah. Good. Yep. No, if you see something out there that you're concerned about as far as workmanship, I absolutely want to know.
Okay.
Yeah. So those two project updates. And then lastly, I was supposed to have a preliminary field check meeting with NDOT yesterday on a number of different bridge projects. And thankfully, the consultant said they didn't want to drive up to the north part of Indiana on Monday. They thought it was going to be stormy and they weren't sure. So that's been rescheduled, at least delayed into sometime in early February. We're hoping to find some dates that might work, but
Is that the one picture you gave us last week? Is that the guardrail you're talking about?
no, there's multiple safety guardrail projects that we're working on. We have a federal aid grant. That's what this is with
Okay.
the state. So
Okay.
NDOT has some funding. That is one of the stages of the project is to do a field check. We review a couple of the locations. We're also going to talk about bidding schedule, construction schedule, make sure that everybody's timing is on point, and then they move forward with the deliverables, their stage 2 and stage 3 plans. So it is a standardized checkpoint in the project that NDOT wants to follow up on. So something we have to do. That's what that's about. I do have a request for quotes on that Bridge 83. I've got that up with a couple of contractors trying to find out when I can get somebody out there. But in the meantime, we have put colored tape. So we've got some pink or orange flagging tape that is on that guardrail to mark that, kind of make it aware that that's been damaged. And until we can get something done with that, that was the plan of action. If we want to do other barricades or other things, then we would probably have to go to a one-lane bridge. And I think that might be worse in the short term than what we've got.
And I'm
So,
assuming no one came forward as to,
and I won't hold out much hope that they will. So maybe they will, but right now I'm not anticipating it.
There's ones out in front of Yost Wood this morning.
Oh, well, that one's completely different. I came up on
I saw it when I went coming to work.
did you? Yep. I came up on a derelict or abandoned vehicle this morning in the middle of the 27, so that was kind of
Was it
exciting.
stalled?
No.
looked like it, just setting at an
Plus,
angle.
Sitting at an angle with the running and across 2 lanes of traffic.
Checking their maps.
Thankfully, nobody got hurt, so. But, yep. Any questions for me?
No, just that bridge out there, as I told you, I grew up the house right beside that bridge, that Bridge 83
Oh,
with
yeah.
the guardrail damage. So I drove out by there yesterday just to kind of see what it looked like. Back when I was much younger, before that bridge was improved and had guardrails, there was a car that went into the ditch
Oh, wow.
at that exact same place. So those guardrails, even though they were damaged, they did what they needed to do and kept that vehicle from ended up in the ditch.
We and they were all very fortunate.
Yeah.
And we don't need anybody being injured in the community. Those rails, they serve their purpose. There are newer ways to do that will be, again, safer even still, but that was certainly energetic and I bet it was quite exciting inside. They're gonna remember that for a long time.
Your guardrail improvement project, that might have been before Doug came back as commissioner. That was a $1.5 million grant,
More about
$2.5 million grant to improve 50 bridges,
Yep, we've got 50 bridges that
to
will
change
have-
the way those guardrails basically
and
end
how that
terminations of those guardrails to make them much safer. So I think that's what this project was, correct? Or your meeting was that was
That's what
supposed
that
to.
meeting is for, is
Okay.
for those 50 bridges. We're not going to all 50. We're gonna go to like 6, 7, or 8 of them and do that sort of review. But we're gonna be phasing out this buried in sections across the county, and this is part of that process, is that first grant. And then I'm looking at other ways to try to phase in that improvement across the remaining 110 or so bridges that may or may not need to have improvements. So we're making progress here. All right, thank you.
Very good.
Thanks, Nate.
I can't believe you had time to come in here. It's fun.
I'll put it this way, I came right off
Right off a truck, huh?
a pickup and brought it, Yeah, we got quite a few, I got quite a
Well,
few
thanks.
things.
And-
How much did it drift in last night through the?
A lot of the roads are about halfway across.
Okay.
Yeah.
The north and south special.
And it was, thankfully, it's still a light fluffy snow yet. I
The
mean, that's
last I
bad.
drove, I drove some about 7 o'clock last night and they were definitely
They were
starting
coming
to
in.
come across.
Yep.
Let me write it out here.
Well, thanks again to you and your team.
Yeah.
That's,
Adds up.
most of us, myself included, has no clue
Who's up
what
next
it's
year?
like to have to
Shannon?
drive those snowplows out there. Just a little bit of driving around I did yesterday.
6.
I can't figure out how they know where the road
nobody-
is. So there's an art to that. And I know once in a while it doesn't go as planned, but
Okay. So
you
that's
guys, you and your
Shannon.
team are doing a great job out there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We can just start with that, worked all day Sunday
Who is it?
and came in early yesterday and worked. And then today,
John Summers.
we came in at normal time, but I told them,
Okay.
as cold as it is, the wind's still blowing, come in at normal time, but we may have to later in the day.
Yeah.
And basically, Paul's actually out right now too. He just sent me a picture. The stuff they're plowing, the first things they hit are already blown back shut.
Yeah,
Yeah, so we'll do the same thing again tomorrow.
yeah.
There you
Stay all
go.
day today and come in
Yeah.
tomorrow. Just
And our travel
Okay.
advisory right now is
orange.
orange, which
Correct.
is
Okay.
Basically,
restricted travel.
Correct.
It's not emergency
Yes.
only, but it's restricted travel. The conditions are not good. I forget what the
Yes.
right terminology is, but
Yeah.
conditions are not good. Travel only if necessary.
correct, to work and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And so, yeah, and so while we're talking about that, you know, obviously, cold weather, diesels, we've had a few hiccups here and there, issues with trucks, but,
Thanks.
you know, thankfully, we still have a couple old spares, and they've been used a lot.
Yeah, you can.
And
I
the
may
mechanic's
have
been
you-
getting them
I may
fixed.
call you back and have
Yesterday,
you
I know,
change a couple
Doug
of
knows, I know, we had a driver on a deep ditch.
When I
Come
figure it
up,
out, I may call you back.
the back end kind of slid
Change
over,
or email
come
it.
back and went and it laid over
All right, thanks.
in the ditch. And I mean, it's like a 10-foot deep ditch. The truck, correct. But he said it was a real slow, easy and just laid over. And thankfully, he's sore this morning, but didn't get hurt really. And so anyhow, we had the record service come out, set it back up, and we drove it back to the shop yesterday. So it's beat up some, missing some lights, you know, the steps are kind of bent and that, but other than that, it looks okay now. They're going over today to check and make sure.
yeah,
So, yeah.
yeah. And I
Fortunate there.
Yes.
mentioned Brad this morning, you know, like I came in on 116 to 27 and those roads were basically, actually, some of them were dry,
Yeah.
but 116 is snow covered, but just want to make sure that you can't compare county roads with those state highways because those state highways have crews that work 24/7, different crews, so they can do it. But
And I do, thank you, Doug. I want to give kudos to the NDOT team too. Holy smokes. The kind of time they put in and the way things look right now is, yeah.
yeah, unbelievable, really. Yeah.
Hey, Brad, what road was that wreck on the truck?
200 east, just north of 218.
Okay.
All right, so to go along with what Nate had, we opened up the bids last week, our 2026 3/4 ton pickup. And again, we only got the one bid from Freedom Automotive for $42,489. Paul and I looked through those and it met everything it needed to be. So I'd recommend.
I'm surprised that's less than the Hampton.
Well, we got very few options on it. It's a pretty plain Jane truck.
Okay.
And
No,
Nate, like
no
you
heated
said-
steering wheel?
No, no, like you said, Nate got all the fancy stuff. No, we got a very plain Jane truck this time.
Move we
Single
accept
cab.
recommendation,
Yeah.
Brad's truck,
Okay.
22.5.
Second.
Motion by Doug, seconded by Stan. Yeah, anytime you buy a truck in the $40,000-ish
Yeah.
range, it doesn't have many bells and whistles on it.
Okay, the next one was our new tandem axle body build for all the equipment that goes with them. Again, only had one bidder, W.A. Jones. Their price was $203,000 or $203,402.
And you're
And-
comfortable that that's a competitive bid, even though we only had one bidder?
Yeah,
You guys are comfortable that we're not gouged there?
and W.A.'s
No
done our,
chassis,
what's that?
no chassis.
No, this is just the equipment to go on it.
I know they've been the
Scraper,
provider
front
forever.
plow, the dump bed, all the hydraulics.
Aluminum bed
Yes. Or the
That's
stainless, I'm sorry. it's
tandem,
or
stainless.
Tandem.
stainless bed?
Yeah, and it is a tandem.
Tandem truck.
Yeah, you know, and this is, yeah, it was, yeah.
Move we accept the bid of 203,402 W.A. Jones for his tandem, bed hydraulic equipment.
Second.
Motion by Doug, seconded by Stan. That passes.
The next bid that we had last week for the paving on 000 between 218 and 900 south and 700 south between 27 and 000. The low bidder was Brooks Construction at $710,200. And Nate and I both looked through those and didn't find anything that would say,
They just wanted the work.
you know what, Brooks has been very good with us the last few years.
You can bet their estimators going back through that to make sure they see
Well,
see if they missed anything
And
too.
he might be, but I think, you know, when they do paving for burn also, it saves them a lot of moving equipment. and
Sure.
that. A lot of times they'll try and time it so they can do that.
Sure.
Basically 3-mile stretch, isn't it?
Yes, from 218 to 900 and then also from 000 to 27. So about
000.
4 mile-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that bid was significantly lower. Sure. It's good for us.
Yep.
Move we accept Brad's, the Brooks Construction for this project.
Second.
Motion by Doug, seconded by Stan.
All right, I have 2 permits this week. The first one is for Indiana, Michigan Power on County Road 800 North between 200 and 300 East. They are replacing poles. You've seen them doing that a lot around the county and other areas. They're replacing poles in that stretch and upgrading. And like, I mean, they're putting the poles back. in the
Basically
same
right
line,
where they come
so,
out of.
Yeah.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Stan, seconded by Doug. Permits approved.
Can I read them both off? They're two different companies and then have you sign them? That'd be all right.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, the second one is for NIPSCO at 6426 North, 600 West. They are retiring a gas service line, and basically all that means is their main's already out along our road. They just need to work in the right of way to retire it going up the house.
What was the address again?
6426 North, 600 West. And there again, they're just gonna dig over that.
Motion to approve.
Second.
By Stan, seconded by Doug. That's fine as well.
So while you're signing that, the next thing we have is an unofficial detour from NDOT. They are going to be working on the bridge just east of 301 on 224. And it was interesting when they first sent me this request, I said, well, that's not even on our county, but they said they still, since it's right there at the county line, they also want to give us the option also. So I said, great, let's do it. And so if you can kind of picture, it's right there at the county line, and I gave them the route of 600 west, the mile before, and then go south a mile on 500 north and go to the county line. And kind of the reason I also did that is because Wells County's unofficial detour is also 500 north.
Okay.
So it lines up with theirs.
Good deal.
And so I just need, if you gentlemen approve it, I'll just need your signatures, and I can send it back.
Move that we approve the detour.
Second.
Motion passes.
So then while you're doing this too, Becky's checking into it, but we have not received our monthly draw yet for the month of January. And it's kind of strange being this late in the month, we haven't received it. So Becky is checking into it, reaching out. She got some phone numbers to call to see, what's going on. So
Maybe they're out of money down there.
what's that?
Maybe they're out of money.
We hope not. Yeah. So I know everybody's still driving.
Yeah.
Hey, Brad, that detour lasts how long? What's the time span on that?
Oh, I'm sorry. The project is planning to go in 2027. And I'll look at it and let you know.
Starts in 20.
They're not doing it till 2027.
Oh, okay.
And NDOT's planning is years in advance, so. The last thing I have for you gentlemen, sorry to say it, but I won't be here next week. I'm going where it's warm.
Huh.
Good for you.
I don't know
And
that
it's
we
not-
can approve
And I
that.
will say not warm in this country, it's another country.
So
Oh.
good for you.
Yeah.
Be careful.
We're going to Belize.
Belize, huh? Wow.
Where's that at?
You said that's a special trip,
South of
right?
Mexico.
Come here.
Okay.
Yeah,
Central
it's down there
America.
by well, it's north of Venezuela.
South
Yeah.
We all know where that's at now.
So, I want to be really careful how much I say here, but it's a special trip because it's my wife's special birthday. I
Good.
won't say how many.
Good deal.
I've learned.
Is
And
there
she,
funeral involved?
no comment. And she informed me months ago, we will not be here and we will be someplace more. I said, okay.
Well, good for you.
So anyhow, yes,
But
I will
if-
not be here, but Paul will be if there's any business.
But if we get a big snow, will you come back?
Well, it'll be in my
Paul will
heart.
be here.
You'll be in my heart. I'll be thinking
Oh,
about it.
okay. All right. Yeah.
Hey, Brad, I have a performance bond for Brooks here. We need to sign that.
Yes.
There's a
Yeah, sorry.
in there for signatures. That was one of the ones that you voted to approve, and all three commissioners.
Thanks. Yeah, that goes along with this. Sorry, with the HMA paving bid.
Thank you, guys. approved, they approved that on the record already, haven't they?
Yeah, they did. They just need to
Yes,
sign
so
it.
we go back.
Speaking of, on that Brooks job, would that be done sometime next summer,
Yes.
fall?
Next year.
Yeah.
Yes. And hopefully we're soon enough that, they can schedule it sooner than later.
Brent, was that detour, what was that detour, 500 north?
Yeah, 600 west to 500. Off of 220.
Hey, Brad. Oh, that's right. Oh, well.
It's at 220.
Yes, sorry.
That's a long time trail.
Send it there. Other than that, that's all I have.
This one for you or me?
Well, it's our project, but Nate's the one that basically, when I say engineered it. So it's kind of for both of us.
Well, maybe this is just one in every 10 years type storm, nothing like 78
Well,
because of the wind, but
And I'll be honest too, I was actually expecting a lot worse when they were talking the winds and the amount. But I also, we haven't had a big snow in years, so I was actually kind of glad I was here at least for a couple days with it, so.
Yeah. Yep.
yeah,
Yeah, it's been a while, hasn't it?
It's been a while.
it's all right. Okay.
I don't see Rick here. I'm sure he's out busy doing something. Yeah, I don't see Dorothy here either, but we're a little early for her. Megan, obviously you've come to talk to us about something. Come on out. Not that you've had anything to do lately.
It's been a fun weekend.
Um,
Mine wasn't, not really to anything in particular. Doug asked me at some point in time to come in and give you guys just a kind of an update on travel advisories.
Okay.
So I did bring these in case you guys wanted a copy for yourself.
I give the news media one too,
Yep.
Megan.
Yeah, that'd be okay, thanks, Megan. If you got
My hands are cold.
Eric, you
Yeah,
you need one?
I've got mine if you wanna.
Yep, I got one for all.
Okay, got one for everybody, good.
Yep.
It's just been revised, huh?
I thought everybody would know that.
I also did do a phone interview with Wayne 15 yesterday.
Good.
Just kind of give them just a general of what it takes for a government to do a travel warning. And just kind of brief them on that.
Would you mind, probably more for our press that's here?
Yeah.
Just quick overview of what your process is and how it works?
So EMA works with the sheriff and the highway, which they did amazing this week with the roads and keeping me informed. Just kind of trying to figure out how the roads are, the conditions, the weather that's coming in, how many inches we may be getting. And then along with the wind direction as well. Normally we see that we'll go ahead and do the travel advisory, which is the lowest level. Just means routine travel and activities may be restricted. The next level is the travel watch, which is only for permitted essential travel. And then the highest level is the warning, which is the red. So you've got yellow, orange, red, which we are currently right now still orange because of the drifting and everything. The warning is more for emergency workers. And then we can't restrict businesses too close. So if a business requires you to come in, then at that point in time, you'd still be able to travel for warning.
And we were under warning for a short period of time, but not very long.
Yes, so we went into a warning. Sorry, my days are all mixed together.
Yeah, I bet they are.
Sunday night, we went into a warning at 10 p.m. and then we lifted that at 8:30. 8:30 a.m. Yes, on Monday morning. And I think the biggest thing we went red for was to be able to get everyone off the road over the evening. This way to get them out of the plows ways. And then that's the norm of the majority for them to be able to work through.
These plows came in about like 4 o'clock Monday morning.
Yeah, 4 AM. But we take into consideration for travel boarding, the roadway conditions, weather forecasts, travel volume, and then situational information as well. So, and that was the biggest thing that we wanted to take into consideration. My only frustration that I experienced with all this, nothing for the county, it was more for the state level. The travel advisory app had a hard time updating itself, which state is aware of that and they are working on that. So if you would go onto the IDHS website, it would show correct on there. But if you have the app, like what I do on my phone, when we went red, it was still orange. So that was a big thing, to contact multiple people at state before it finally got fixed. And I think it didn't get fixed until 6 AM yesterday morning, when we ended up going back within a few hours. So state is aware of that, so they are trying to work on that. I know they've had issues with that in the past. I myself haven't had issues, of course, until this weekend. So
This is the kind of situation that mobile app is going to help with
Yeah.
once it
Yeah.
becomes
And-
active.
And that's what I try and pushing out to multiple people that were having issues with that, because I know we've gotten some calls at our office. And I told them, we're working on the county app. We're in the developmental stage on that. You can go to the travel advisory app, but myself, I would go to the IDHS website and look. But I feel like within our community, we did a good job putting it out on Facebook. I saw multiple just scrolling through Facebook Sunday night. There's one post after another sharing I think it was Decatur PD that shared it first. And I just kept seeing that post all over Facebook. So Facebook social media did do a good job getting it out there.
Megan, I have a question. Okay, we've got the yellow, orange, red.
Yes.
Okay. Is the state got the same color codes and levels? And then just tack onto that, the Allen, Wells and Jay County, do they have corresponding levels and colors?
Yep.
Good.
Yeah. And a lot of people also don't realize too, every county is basically the same with with their color coordination.
Okay.
But like Adams County, we don't have 469 like what Wells County and Huntington County have. So those roads are deemed by the state and NDOT, where ours are our county highway and then also our city that handle those. So a lot of people don't realize different type of roads have different people looking at them as well.
Right. And obviously Allen, Jay, and Wells and Adams, we call the shots as we see fit.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and then whenever I will get information, I would share that with our surrounding counties as well. So I had a lot of contact with Jay County and Wells County and Huntington County as well.
Okay.
One of the things that you and I talked about, I know Stan's experienced it, and I know Doug's experienced it, and I got my first experience with it, is when we get involved and try to think about a condition, red,
Yep.
which means only emergency travel. And to me, I take that really seriously because we're shutting down business, we're asking businesses to close, we're asking people to stay off the roads, in every instance. And so I know that even though our roads are not good now, they're still struggling. We're still struggling. Brad and his team, they're doing an awesome job. Sheriff is out, their guys are out there trying to keep things clear. But at this point, with it being status orange, which is the watch, we're not directing people to stay off the road. We're asking them to be considerate. We're asking them to be on the roads only if necessary. But we do, when we lift that red, we move out of dictating what people do and what businesses do, just kind of more into that advisory role. This is a situation, we advise you not to go out. We advise you to be only in an emergency situation. But I guess that's you know, when we think about putting a code red over the whole county, for me, that's a huge responsibility. And I take that really seriously because we're impacting people inside the city of Decatur. We're impacting people that are looking outside their window and saying, I don't have a problem getting where I want to go. Why do you tell me I can't go anywhere?
Yeah.
So that's, you know, when you get into that condition red, that warning situation, I know we had conversations and I've talked to Brad and Sheriff Dan and it's like, oh, I don't want to go there. Do we really think we need to be there? So those are considerations that I know we really take seriously as commissioners.
Yeah.
And we'll only do that whenever you all tell us, we really need you to shut things down. So
Yeah,
that's,
this is the first one that I've dealt with myself, not only as director, because I've only been director for 3
Mhm.
weeks now, or almost 4 weeks now, but also the first time within EMA as well. Because I believe the last time that we had to do a disaster declaration, which is what we had to do to go orange, or not orange, to go red, was in February of 2022. So that was the last time we had to do one of those to go red.
Yeah, good warm up for you.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it's definitely learning. I enjoyed the communication with everyone, so it was
Well-
nice to see how well community worked together.
It was excellent. I just, many times through the weekend and so far this week, I thought, dang, we need that app. So we can, if we had the app, you could have pushed out to everybody with a cell phone, the fact that we're red, we're asking you to stay off the roads. When we lifted that red and went to orange, you can push that information out. And that's really what we're after with that new app. And we're gonna get there sooner than later and hopefully the residents will appreciate it.
Yeah,
Well, I really did sincerely appreciate your transparency. You kept us, at least on my emails, you kept us totally informed where we were, what was the latest, et cetera, because sometimes we get calls
mhm,
and without that transparency, we can't give them the answer they're looking for. So I appreciate that.
no problem. I tried my best to keep, not only you guys, but everyone included.
I know the
when I was
media
getting-
helps us out whenever we do something like this. I know it was on the WZBD. I heard the radio broadcasting it and I know the printed press uses their web pages and really helps us out trying to spread that word. So I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Megan.
No problem, that's all I really
Thanks,
had.
Megan. Appreciate you being here.
I would like to add one thing. I will say Megan did an awesome job. I also want to thank the citizens of Adams County. Sunday, there was hardly any traffic. I mean, very few. And when we're out, we get every road covered. That's something when you can say that really people will actually sit down and listen to it. Even yesterday wasn't terrible. It's picking back up. Yes, I just wanted to tell the citizens, thank you.
And the text caster that Shannon sent out.
Yes.
Worked very well for county employees as well, just to kind of keep them updated.
Very
Thanks.
good. Thank you.
Steve, is it a state rule that all counties, the commissioners make the shot call on that? Each
Megan,
county-
my understanding is the answer is yes. Is that at the red level?
To go in red,
Yeah.
the commissioners have to
Commissioners know.
sign a declaration, a disaster declaration.
Yeah, okay, I thought so.
And-
That's like an ordinance, and that's how we get legal authority to make enforcement. Without that, we can't do any type of.
Speaking of that, is there anything we need to sign today?
So I
Or
think-
did Steve take care of that?
Yeah, Steve signed it for me
Okay.
to be able to input for the.
I'll get the rest of the signatures on it. How's that?
I sent it to you guys through email.
We'll clean up that paperwork right now.
And
Good
then,
question.
Tony, you'll need to sign that as well, since you're the auditor. We are still under disaster declaration. That is active for 7 days, so once we decide to rescind it, at that point in time, we'll have to send that to you to sign as well.
Yes, I want to call a code red.
Very good. Very good. Okay, again, thanks Megan and our whole team, you know, is, when we get into one of these situations, it takes a team effort and we have a great team in Adams County and I'm so proud of what y'all do and your team members that are out there in the middle of this, fighting this storm and fighting the roads and trying to keep people safe. My hat's off to them. Thank you. Dorothy, we're early, but come on up. Dorothy asked to speak, I know, just to kind of set the table here, set the stage. Dorothy and I had a conversation. She and a large group of county residents spent some time in the gymnasium here. In her particular instance, playing pickleball. Obviously, people are starting to hear about our plans, maybe to use that gymnasium space for in our renovation project, and that gym may go away. And so Dorothy called to express her concern about that. And I just said she's welcome to come and express those concerns kind of publicly and to all of us. So take it away.
Okay. I'm Dorothy Poling, and let's see, starting next month, I'll be going into my 16th year of playing pickleball. This started back in the winter of 2010, as I understand it. Steve Lytle and his wife Pat brought this back from Arizona. And Steve Kroll and Steve Lytle marked off the first pickleball court in the gym at the West End. And then a few years later, when interest grew, I helped Tim LeBou mark off the second court at the East End. And the way I heard about pickleball, my high school classmate, Lynette Strukamp, was going to walk laps in the gym in weather like this. And she called me and said, I was walking in our old high school gym today and 4 guys were playing this silly little game that I think you and I could play. So for 2 winters, we played singles. This would have been the winter of 2011. And because she doesn't like the hot weather, she didn't want to play in a non-air conditioned place in the summer. But I hope all of you know how much this has grown. I believe now a number that I got the end of last week from Molly is that there are at least 150 active pickleball players for this gym, men and women. It's used every day of the week, weekday, for pickleball. Sometimes on a special occasion, it's even used for some tournaments on the weekends. And it would be a great loss to this community not to have that anymore. There are a whole raft of other activities that go on in that area, but that's not for me to speak to.
Sure.
Chris Kroll is putting those numbers together. I guess the question I have, because I've been told by a pretty reliable source that it will do no good to beg for that area because the decision's been made. It's gonna be used otherwise. I don't know if that's really so.
Yeah, again, I don't want to speak for the other commissioners, but I don't believe that decision's been made. But we certainly are headed that direction. What I will tell you is that part of our conversations have been an understanding that gymnasium space, it would be a loss to the community.
Yes, it would.
And so what we're trying to do is trying to think about alternatives through the parks departments, through the county parks department and through the city parks department. What other opportunities may be available to do some indoor activities like that, how we can help maybe to make that happen. So I will tell you, we've not signed any contracts and we've not made any commitment to take that space away, but we certainly, it's being highly considered at this point.
Are there plans for a public meeting, like in the evening sometime? Excuse me,
No,
I
that's
forgot
okay.
to put that on silent.
We do that too.
And I don't know anyone in Walketville.
Can I speak to that?
Sure.
Oh, well, what we've done, the county has the obligation to provide for a judicial system. So I've been investigating that for 2 years. And we identified 5 different locations for a proposed upgraded judicial center that's safer, more efficient, more convenient for people. And this was not our first choice. Our first choice did not work out the way we wanted. So then
When you
we-
say our, that was your committee.
The
not-
committee, yeah,
Right.
the committee, yeah.
Okay.
And so then the next choice, we decided to focus on this facility. So what we've done, we've contracted an architecture firm, Elevatus, and they are studying this facility to use for an upgraded judicial center. So we've contracted them to do that, and we expect to have a report back from them within a month on what the cost would be, what the effectiveness would be, what the plans would be. So that's kind of where we're at in the process. So the focus is definitely on this building.
Well, you said there were 5 locations considered. What
The
about
first
the others?
location was to build across Madison Street
Mhm.
and do a connector with the courthouse. This was the second location. Another location was to build a new complex out by the jail on county property. Another location was to build across Third Street where the existing Superior Court is. And another one was to put an addition onto the existing courthouse on the courthouse green. So those were the 5 locations we considered. So through this process, you know, we've kind of set priorities as far as which ones to investigate first. And so this is the second one that we are currently investigating. So that's where we're at in the process of investigating. This one is having an architecture firm study the space needs for the departments we want to move here and come back with cost estimates and feasibility studies on that. So like I say, we are at the point in that study where we expect to see a report back from them within a month. So that's gonna determine the next step in the process. But to Steve's point, we're meeting on a regular basis with city officials, parks, board officials, county officials on recognizing this as part of a huge quality of life issue to have a public facility like this. The other thing that I've always tried to emphasize is, we took over this building approximately 40 years ago. And Mark's probably got a better history on this than I do. But at that time, we took it over for the benefit of county offices and we kind of inherited the gym. So for the last 40 years, the county has maintained that gym. We've kept the lights on, we've kept the heat on. We've kept it as a functional space.
But the air
so-
doesn't work real well in the summer.
Oh. Okay, give us an X for
Okay.
that one. So, and so I guess at this point, you know, one of the things that we're looking at is we definitely want to continue a public space like this as a quality of life issue. Because just like you've said, it's very important to people and activities, much in pickleball, but also in basketball, volleyball, wrestling, gymnastics for kids. I mean,
And
it's
the
just a
fitness-
multiple
and the
use.
fitness part.
Yeah, and the fitness part, I've got kind of my feelings on that too, but anyway. So as we move forward with the focus on our responsibility as county government being to provide a safe and efficient judicial system, that's our number one priority. But also, I think a priority for county government is to improve and provide quality of life issues like a public space like this. So we're working very hard to do both. We're working very hard to provide for a judicial system. But along with that, we're also working very hard to look at quality of life issues and continue having a public space available for activities for everyone. So it's not signed and sealed by any means. But it's a pretty strong focus right now to take over that job.
What is being done if we lose that area?
Well,
Well,
I guess I would like to say that there is potential, and I'm not gonna go any farther than this. There is a potential for a much bigger and better public space.
You know, Dorothy, there's no use me repeating what's already been said, because I basically agree if everything has been said. You know, I feel very, I really appreciate your interest in being physical, activity, et cetera, et cetera. Perhaps, just to maybe drift in Stan's direction a bit, perhaps to, because I'm not gonna speak for the mayor of Decatur or the city council in Decatur, but I think the mayor has a plan and is very, very concerned about your concerns. And, you know, perhaps a visit with Decatur City Council at one of their meetings would give you some insight, and the community insight to what they're thinking, not just what we're thinking.
Okay,
Okay? So I do appreciate you coming in and
We're
expressing
working
your
on this
concern.
together.
good.
It's a partnership.
Well, I think, of course, just speaking for pickleball players, we're thinking, okay, are they gonna do this and then forget about us?
Dorothy, one of the things that we are told, and I believe, is that quality of life and quality of place, I think is the right is the terminology they use today, is really important in economic development. And if we're going to be a growing, thriving community, and I've said this before, where we want to live and our kids want to live and our grandkids want to live, I think we have to be able to provide some of those quality of life and quality of place items that are attractive. Part of that is physical recreation opportunities. And so I agree with Stan. Our primary challenge is public safety, public health, courts. But from an economic development standpoint, it's important that we have activities that people, that cause people to want to live here. So not only is it important for you, I think it's important for our future that we have quality of life and quality of place activities that people can take advantage of. We have a county parks department, parks board.
Right.
You have a city parks board here in Decatur. We also jointly do some things together. Our parks board and the city parks board share some activities and share some responsibilities. It's kind of complicated, to be quite honest with you. It's not always clear who does what. You probably aren't aware of this, but when the pickleball courts were refurbished, the outdoor courts out at the Riverside Center, which is owned by the city of Decatur,
Right.
the primary funding for that refurbishment of those outdoor courts came from county
Yes.
government.
Yes, I was told that.
So we see that obligation and we see that need to provide pickleball and basketball and gymnastics and all those kind of things. Obviously, we have to balance that with our primary responsibilities and our responsibilities for, we're responsible for we're accountable to 35,000 residents in Adams County, half of which, or not half, but quite a few of which live south of 124. So we have to balance that. Okay, how much do we want to invest in something that is primarily and predominantly located inside the city of Decatur? We also know that the highest population center is the city of Decatur. So we had a lot of, I say that just to tell you that our decision is not an easy one. It's not something that we're going to take lightly, but it also isn't something that we're going to just ignore that quality of life aspect to our responsibility as commissioners and as a county. And we want that to be healthy as well. So we're working on it. We're gonna continue to work on it. While it may, from our perspective, from a logistical perspective, it makes sense if we can bring all those offices into this building. We only have, we have internet connectivity issues, we have security issues, we have all kinds of things that we have to consider when we think about putting a court out in a separate building and we're having community corrections out in a separate building and all those things, that it would be so much easier and better for us if we could bring all those things together under one roof. We think we have the space to do that, but we're going to, if we do that, we know we're gonna dislodge a key activity, and so we're gonna work on that as well.
Well, several key activities.
Yeah, Dorothy, I think at the end of the day, perhaps with a concerted team effort, cooperation among all, it's gonna be a lot more than just pickleball courts,
Oh, yes.
okay?
Oh,
So,
yes.
that's important. And so I think we kind of beat this horse to death.
Yeah,
but,
I think the assumption is that we don't care about the activities that go on in that gymnasium, and that's just not true. It's just not true. We do care about that. And we're gonna work to try to make sure that those
Good.
activities
Yeah.
continue to be accommodated and
Yeah.
maybe even expanded.
and expanded.
Yeah, because I know a lot of angry paddle wielding women.
Well,
That's the last thing we
Mark
need.
has dealt with,
Well, I know of some women who now wear protective glasses when they have to play against Mark.
Not me. I'm not a slam, I'm not a slammer.
he still wants to win
Well-
though, doesn't he?
I'm sure.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
Dorothy, I appreciate you coming. I keep your ear to the rail and keep an open mind about what we're trying to do, because we're not, I really, it's my commitment not to leave you out of this discussion and not to leave you out of the solution.
Well, as I said, someone said to me, well, you might as well forget about trying to save this gym because they've already decided on this building.
Well,
Yeah.
I think we've not signed any contracts, but we're leaning very heavily towards this facility for renovation.
But I guess I would draw the differentiation between saving the gymnasium itself, which you might lose the gymnasium, but you might actually end up in a higher quality space to do the activities that take place in that gymnasium. That's
In
what
all
we're working on.
likelihood.
Because there are a lot of other things.
That's what we're
besides
working on.
pickleball. Yeah.
And I've been a part of a group that's been trying to figure out how to fund and raise money for a volleyball complex and there's a lot of that desire in the community. We get that, and we're working on a potential solution there.
Okay,
We just can't talk a lot about it right now.
right, okay,
one thing is sure though, if you read it on Facebook, it's gotta be true.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, we appreciate you coming in.
You know how to get a hold of us now, so
Yes, I do.
if you want to know
You're-
exactly
you're
what
in
we're
here.
thinking,
I
Give
don't
us a
have
call.
your direct number, but. I
He'll give
have-
it to you.
I have Todd's,
let me find
or
your card.
Tony, I'm
I
sorry.
guess as far as what to look for next, if we get a report back from our architecture firm within a month, and Doug has always pushed for this, is doing a public meeting to, discuss our plans. So within the next couple months, maybe look.
Yeah, that was the question I was asked to bring, if there will be a public meeting.
The public meeting would involve a lot more than just pickleball.
Oh,
Okay,
exactly.
right, it would
Exactly.
be an informative meeting, because a lot of people south of 124 don't have a very good idea of what this building's being planned for. And that needs to be communicated too.
But yeah, kind of keep watching for that.
Will do,
We'll do a public meeting.
okay. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Dorothy.
Now I'm gonna go get my second cataract
Oh,
surgery
well, good for
cleared,
you.
so I can play pickleball Thursday.
Well,
Oh.
hang in there with us.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mark, what have you got for us this morning? Mark and Clayton.
We got a renewal contract for the animal shelter with Galena County and the city of Bern for 2026. It's on the same terms. We just need a signed agreement for the county to continue to provide animal shelter services as well as the animal control officer. The annual amount is $6,900 for 2026. And so that this agreement is good through the end of 26. Just need to have that approved and signed, and we'll send it down Bern for signature. And then they'll be billed at some point in time.
What's that figure again? Tony?
$6,900.
$6,900.
6,900 for this
All
year.
of the other ones are good through 26. This is the only
I
one.
was gonna ask about Decatur and
This was the only one that we needed.
who do we have, Tony? Who do we have contracts with besides Bern?
Bern, Monroe, Geneva, and Decatur. But Mark will have all of those at his disposal to bring back at some point to work on any updates or whatever that are needed for 27, going into 27.
Probably want a motion. Yep.
So moved.
Second.
Motion passes.
Appointments. I had a few lingering appointments. We wanted to check out the terms for the Property Tax Assessment Board of Appeals. Those members are just appointed annually. And so we need to make that appointment. So the two members, reappointment of the two members that have been serving that have to have training and credentials to even serve on this board. But it's Max Beer and also Rex King for 2026. So through the end of 2026 to serve on the Adams County Property Tax Assessment Board of Appeals. So we need a motion to approve their appointments.
Move that we approve Max and Rex for the appointments as Mark spelled out to us.
Just for 1 year, this all.
Just 1 year.
Was that a second stand?
That's a second.
Okay.
So those are
Motion
reappointed
passes.
every year. And then on the sewer district, have a few here. Wanted to figure out the staggered terms.
There's a vacancy there too, though.
Right, we have, and so my understanding that gentleman, I think Carrie Steiner has been recommended for appointment from Berlin Grove. Did you guys discuss that?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you're in agreement to appoint him?
Yep.
All right. So what we have is Nate Rumschlag is on that board and has been serving for quite some time. Hopefully he'll continue to do that, but, and then also we've had John Carroll, who's been on the board for a while, but in order to true up the staggered terms, we're gonna have you just appoint them for 1 year. And then next year they'll, if they're reappointed or their successor would be appointed for a 3-year term, and then we're gonna get all of our terms kind of realigned.
So all three are just for 1 year term?
Just these two, Nate and John Carroll, for 1 year, 2026.
Do we have an appointment for Carrie at this point?
Yes, I have it here next.
Okay,
Do
okay,
we
so
need
we'll
to do
handle these first.
two different times, one for the 1 years,
Yeah,
one
these-
nomination for the 1 year and one for the 3?
Yeah, this is the motion to appoint, reappoint John Carroll and Nate Rumschlag for a 1-year term, 2026.
I make that motion.
Second. And so
And then let's do the Carrie Steiner too, then, right?
I got that right now.
Okay.
Yep,
And his is 3 years, right?
correct. So we're starting Carrie Steiner off here January 26, and that'll run through into 28. And then the same thing for Dion Show. He's relatively new to the board, but to get his term in a staggered term, we need to do the same for him, January 26 through the end of 28.
And move that we appoint the two for the 3-year term, Stan.
Second.
Yeah, so that's
Motion passes.
Carrie Steiner and Dion Show.
It's 3 years or 2 years?
They're 3 years.
He's 3 years.
Yep, through the end of 28. So that'll even up our terms, because we really don't like to have, when you have a 7-member board, you don't want to have all of those individuals coming up at once, or even if you can do it so that it's staggered over the 3 years, that's helpful to the continuity of the board. Let's see, what else we have. Was a question about the property site that's out, Country Acres, is the location of their treatment plant, their old treatment site that is not operable.
Oops.
And that is owned by Country Acres, I think it's homeowners association that was formed back in about
Take that via S.
1976. Okay, or it was a long, long time ago. Title was actually transferred to that association. That association is dissolved. Okay, so in order for the county or in order for anything to be done with that property, that the title issue has to be addressed. And from a standpoint of, property taxes are not delinquent. I don't understand that situation necessarily, but title is still in the name of that association, which is dissolved. Okay, so from a public health standpoint, if the county, wants to, if that needs to be cleaned up, if it's a public health issue, then that's something I'm gonna be talking to Luke Ainsworth about, because from a jurisdictional standpoint, that any remedy or any action with regards to that site and that property would have to be, at least in my opinion, at the present time, initiated by the health department.
So maybe a condemnation or something that
yes.
might have to go through that
Correct.
process.
Right. Correct.
I took a drive through there, Mark, just recently, just to take a look at it. It needs to be addressed. It's a mess.
So, and I think that's probably the route that we have to go. So I will meet with Luke and we'll have a conversation about, how that needs to be initiated. What involvement the county, maybe we have in that process, if any. But that's the route I believe it has to go.
Maybe the answer isn't necessary that the facility has to be destroyed or removed. Maybe it just needs to be remediated to where it's not a health, maybe that'd be the cheapest, easiest thing, like it was suggested, just to drain it and cover it, so it's not a.
Yeah, there's two issues. Okay, so there's does something need to be done by way of cleanup or remediation to eliminate, some health hazard or conditions out there? I would say in all likelihood, yes. I mean, I'm not a professional, but my guess is the answer to that is yes. Okay, but the next question is title. Okay, ownership of property. The county can't just say, well, that needs cleaned up, wave the magic wand and say, we own it now, and now we have the authority to convey. Okay, who has the authority to convey title to that real estate? And I can tell you right now, nobody.
Surely
Okay,
there's
it's a defunct association.
Yeah, surely there's a process somewhere in the state that you have
Yes.
to go through when
Yes,
ownership is dissolved, when the owning entity is dissolved and the real estate needs to be
Yeah.
somehow transferred.
right? So where does title go? Well, it could, revert to all the owners of the association. Well, how do we identify them? It's been defunct for years. So I think it goes into the realm of condemnation where we can't identify who the owners are. We can't identify that there really is any vested, current corporate owner of that real estate, and therefore title needs to be quieted or title needs to be established in the county by way of condemnation. And then once you have a court order, it takes a court order that deals with title. And once you have that court order, now the county has the ability to say, okay, here's what we're going to do. First, we're going to clean it up and remediate it, and we're gonna assess whatever that cost is. And then we're going to dispose of it, sell it, whatever you wanna do. So it's a process to really
So we
clean it
gotta
up.
do all that before we even clean it up.
Absolutely. I mean, go in there and start spending money to clean it up. What authority do you have to sell it?
I think we've eliminated, it's not draining into the ditch anymore. So I think we got that stopped. or the health department had that stuff. But
So, yeah, I mean, it's a unique situation, but it's not a situation that I'm sure hasn't occurred in some fashion before, so we need to pursue the health,
what do we do, like,
aspect.
you know, I've been out there and walked across the top of the facility and stuff, and it's like, I'm not sure it's safe. I mean, say if there's kids playing on it or something, I mean, I don't know how we make it safe. Somehow, so nobody falls in there.
Well, I think that all goes into the health, condemnation, the unsafe, not necessarily unsafe building, but unsafe property, unsafe condition. I think all goes towards condemnation.
So does, so if we contact the health department and have them do their due diligence, is it the health department attorney or is it our county attorneys that have to push the button on this thing?
Maybe a combination of both, but I mean, my thought right now is it's the health department takes the lead on it. So I'll
Well,
be talking to them.
I can back up 20 years and Country Acres was a concern then. So I think we need to be aggressively pursuing this whole mess out there.
Well, from the property owner's perspective, we are, I mean, I've updated you guys multiple times on that. I
Yeah.
have hearings, I was just talking to the sheriff, because I have another hearing, I have hearings next week for, at least initially, for all of the property owners that have not gotten in touch with me and not signed some type of abatement agreement related to their lots.
How many do we have out there, Clayton?
We're definitely making sure that we're there. How many lots?
How many property owners are we 100% sure, or how many property owners, as we talk right now? How many property?
Property owners, there's probably, I don't know off the top of my head without my laptop and seeing them all, but I would say somewhere between 15 and 20. But you have, I mean, I can say that I have at least 3 that just own one lot that have come to me and are interested in planning to sign those abatement agreements. I've just been following up with them to get those signed, that basically is an agreement that they're gonna have the property abated by, approximately July of this year. Another one of the property owners, the big thing is you have that Country Acres Property Owners Association that owns a multitude of lots. And you also have another corporate entity out there that owns a multitude of lots. Again, the owner of both the Country Acres Home Association and that corporate entity have come to me with at least I've sent them, after you gave me approval, I believe last week, I sent them a proposed agreement. So in relation to the private lots that they own, they should be, I mean, again, I have those hearings coming up, so if I'm gonna have to tell all of them, if you're not intent on signing that agreement, then I'm gonna move forward because I want a court order that at a minimum demands the court will, put a timer on it itself, stating that they have so long to abate it from the date of the order. If it's not abated by that time, then the county can take whatever steps necessary to abate that. And then any expenses incurred by the county in abating those nuisances will be leaned against the property.
Now, Clayton, just clarify for me, what the word abatement, what does that actually mean?
Abatement means like basically, so it's the legal term for basically cleaning up whatever's been deemed a nuisance. So some of the properties, obviously not right now, it's as big of an issue, but some of the properties had, much too tall of grass and root weeds. Some had, rubbish everywhere in the
Right.
property. Some of them just have, the trailers that are sitting there and, exposed and dangerous. Some of them have inoperable vehicles. There's multiple things that can be deemed a nuisance. Taking that nuisance, whatever's deemed the nuisance, getting rid of it, cleaning it up, that's the legal term is abating that nuisance.
Do you get a specific? I've seen some of this work through our plan commission where it's been a 2-3 year process of trying to get this person to clean his place up and it still hasn't happened. Are you saying when these people sign you, is there a specific time frame that goes along with this?
Yeah, if they've signed it, if they have signed or planning to sign the abatement agreements I prepared and sent to you all, then there is a date certain by which they must have the nuisances cleaned up. And if they don't, they'll be agreeing to, and I'm not gonna go into I don't wanna go into the
Right.
specifics of the agreement, but I mean, they'll be agreeing to basically the punitive measures implemented against them.
But, just to speak to Doug's point, I think, we've been very aggressive in trying to start from the beginning. Like, when I came on as commissioner, we had raw septic going into Yellow Creek there. And so we spoke to Item, and Item was just like, oh, we aren't going back there, we're done. So we went through the county health department and we got all those properties condemned, so there was no longer any septic going into the plant or into the creek. And then, so once we got that done, it eliminated the septic into the creek. But then also, one of the things we worked on was I worked with Mark Burry and Mark Wynn and to put a nuisance ordinance together. And then after the health hazard was eliminated, then we used that nuisance ordinance towards the property owners to start cleaning up the busted down trailers and tall grass and tires laying around. So it's been a process of, working with the sheriff's department, because he's had one of his deputies that spearheaded that condemnation effort and is now spearheading the enforcement of the nuisance ordinance. So it's just been so difficult because there's so many property owners. It's not like one person. And, just like what Mark brought up, it's like, well, the association's dissolved, so you can't really do anything there. It's just been, like whack-a-mole, trying to hit problems until you get to the point where the whole thing's gonna get cleaned up. But, with the aggressive efforts that Clayton's put forward, I drove out there and there's actually property owners that are starting to clean up their property.
I only noticed, I only thought, when I drove through, I only thought there might be two
Yeah, there's
that's
like,
occupied.
there's like, yeah, I don't know that there's anybody that actually lives.
Oh, there's very, very, there's only, I think,
Yeah.
the ones, you got 100, and I forget what's the intersecting road that goes east-west, 100 there in the corner. There's only like
400.
two of the outlying lots are still occupied with actual
Yeah.
residents.
Yeah.
Most have no,
Well, that has to do with septic.
that has to do with the condemnation that.
But I mean, we have worked for years to put all the pieces together to bring this to.
This seems
To
to
a
me
better
that if thank goodness I don't own one of those properties out there, but if I did, I'd say, county, you can have it. It's
Well,
yours.
And that's how people have been buying up properties, is a tax sale. Or they've been paying the taxes so they don't go to tax.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
sounds like we're continuing to make progress. I know Clayton's working on the abatement. Sounds like Mark's working on the actual,
Title issue.
title issues with, the the defunct owner association out there. So we're still making progress. So, and again, I know Doug, I'm sure it's frustrating. I understand it's frustrating, but I see the progress we've made in the last couple of years. We've really been working
Yeah.
on it. It's slow and steady and still got a long ways to go, but we're getting there. Got to do it the right way.
That's
Well, and
amazing, yeah.
that's why, the effort that Mark and Clayton and the sheriff
The
have all
sheriff,
put
yeah,
into this.
Appreciate
it's
it, yeah,
been-
that's
And the health
appreciated.
department, I mean, everybody has really been working on this.
What else have you got for us, Mark? Clayton?
Anything, Clayton?
Mark, you have some contracts we need to sign, I think with Intermedia or somebody like that you were gonna bring.
Yes, I think, did Brooke send those to you, Tony? The ones, it were the ones that were emailed, and I think they were even emailed to Steve, and I said, we just get them printed and signed today,
Okay.
because they've already been approved. We,
Yes.
subject to language,
Right,
revisions, which we
you
revised.
were looking at the language.
Yes,
and
yes.
Maybe recommended a revision, but they
Yep.
told us to go pound sand, and so we're gonna sign them without the revision. right?
Well, on one term, had to do with they agreed to our month clarification,
Okay.
but it was the
They
forums,
didn't wanna change the.
forum selection, okay? And so, which has to do with, how often do you get involved in a litigation
Yeah.
with those outfits? Anyway, it's
Yeah.
very rare. They just don't want to be
They don't want to get
subject
sued
to
in
jurisdiction
Indiana.
in 50 states.
Yeah.
Anyway, we tried.
Let me look, I don't remember.
But as far as those, we can get those printed here, certainly, Steve, we can have you sign them afterwards, cause
Okay.
I think they've been approved.
They've been approved. We just
Right.
need to get them signed.
Just need
Okay.
them signed.
Clayton, Bark, anything else before we move on?
I don't think so, because again, I was just gonna update you on the enforcement actions. I've
Okay.
had some of the initial hearings next week. Again, some of those will move relatively quickly because the ones that involve only one property and one property owner, I advanced in the small claims court, which moves a lot quicker. Property owners that own multiple lots, I advanced in the circuit court because technically under the fines provision, they're, the county could be entitled to fines above and beyond the statutory cap of small claims, which obviously all of us here know that's not necessarily the intent. The intent is to get the properties cleaned up, but that was this strategy there. Yeah, I don't think so, unless you guys have any questions on anything specific.
The only thing I'll say, there will be something coming up at some point, once you guys get a chance to look at it. And that's amending 2001-2 ordinance regarding the video franchise fee. Because at the time that was done, it was stated in that ordinance that it was good for 15 years. We're past that 15 years. And what that is, gentlemen, Community Fiber now, it's called Benton Telephone on the invoice that we get every year. It's like $1,400 around. It's not a lot of money. But we did not get one in 2025. So we reached out to the company and everything else. And I got to looking at ordinances. And it's beyond the 15 years. So they're going to be looking into that. I think Brooke might have sent that or given that to you, Mark, for you guys to look at and maybe bring back in the future.
Yeah, I have it right here.
We just want to have some teeth. We contacted Community Fiber and I don't think we've heard back from them yet, but we're like, we've done this every year. It's for hookups in outlying areas outside the cities. And they're supposed to pay the county a franchise fee for that. So you don't have to do that today. I'm just saying, and it'll be coming up.
I have an email on it from you and I'll.
Yeah. It'll be coming up in the future, just to get it on your guys' radar. It'll be coming up later. Mark, I'm not, you might want to call Brooke because I'm not seeing.
Rick,
where
have
she
you got
sent that to
anything we
me.
need to address here in the meeting?
Those
maybe after the meeting.
Okay.
Contracts.
Okay, very good. Anything from the public before we move? We'll adjourn. Shannon, I'm sorry.
That was intentional.
Ruh-roh.
I do not have a check mark beside you, so you have not presented yet, so you're good to go.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Shannon's here too.
Oh, yeah, how could you forget?
That's what happens when I flip my paper over.
I just have two quick things. The first thing is if you guys think back a couple months ago, we started using the website called Employee Navigator for benefits administration. That is administered by an organization called the Cason Group. We just need to know where you're comfortable paying that invoice from. So it's gonna be roughly $180 to $200 a month. So Tony and Glenda and I talked about it and we didn't know if you wanted it to be paid from health insurance or software
Yeah.
out of auditor's budget.
I'm sure Tony's not real fond about using the auditor's budget.
I mean, we would just, if we don't have enough in there, if you do it out of that, we just have to seek an additional, explain it to council. And then for 27, we would budget for it. If you want to come out of software,
Yeah,
but if you wanted to come out of
I
health
got it.
insurance,
Fine.
And we added into yours for 27.
Does it
too.
make sense for it to come out of health insurance?
And then you can do.
We
send
kinda
that.
went back and forth on it a little
Yeah.
bit.
it's kind of both things. It involves
No, I
health
got it.
insurance, but it's also software.
Well, from your seat, Tony,
Revise one. I just-
as far as ease of doing the business, where do you feel about it? It doesn't make any difference.
There's no difference because all Glenda will simply pay it out of wherever you say to pay it out of. I
Sounds
haven't
like we
looked-
gotta make a decision.
I haven't looked to see how much is in our software budget because there's several things, there's Exsoft Wow and all the other stuff.
It's pretty small. It's just paid out of health insurance and be done with it.
That's fine with me. Okay, if you
As long as
say,
it makes sense. I don't wanna do it if it doesn't make sense, but.
I think it does.
Form.
And then my other question was, I just wanted to double check with you guys on how you wanted to handle hours for yesterday when we were.
So for John Carroll.
In the past, back, last time we did this several years ago, I don't believe we paid employees that did not work.
Correct. There's been a couple instances where we've had a code red. There's one, most recently, I believe, we sent employees home in the afternoon when there was some tornadoes that were coming. That was maybe a
Yes.
year and a half ago, and you're correct, we did not. We had the eclipse thing, which we did not. But there has been one instance in my tenure that you did opt to pay because you had the option. That was your choice, but it's up to you guys.
What was that one? You recall what it
That one
was?
was, I wanna say it was a Thursday and a Friday. We had like sub-zero temperatures. It was like when we had like the negative 25 degrees outside.
I remember that. That was,
Say the same.
Doug, I think you called that code red that time. I remember that.
Okay,
I think our thought process in the past has been, you know, if we have closed offices,
I'll just tell him.
we still have emergency personnel that are on the job. Highway department's on the job. So we
Right,
didn't
thanks.
feel it was appropriate to pay administrative people and other people to stay home while we were paying emergency services and highway department to work.
Buildings and grounds were here too.
right.
that
Well, the
morning.
thing of it is, we better get some consistency to this because, you know, you paid one time, you didn't, so, you know, where do you draw the line?
Yeah, I think the consistency would be hit, that recently we have not paid.
Yeah.
Since I've been a commissioner, we've not.
Well,
Yeah,
we better stick with that.
Part of the difference would be is, let's say if something happened to where all of a sudden we had a gas leak at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and we had to send people home. I think at that point, we probably would pay them for the rest of the day because it was, but if we've got a code red and close offices before office hours ever start, then I don't think we would have to pay them.
What I talked about yesterday, what we talked about yesterday was employees would have the opportunity, so we're missing 4 hours of work. We closed for half the day on Monday, yesterday. So if we give them the opportunity to maybe work a little overtime, or I hate to dictate a shortened paycheck, give them the opportunity to work those additional hours and get their 80 hours in.
Yeah, is there any opportunity if employees have, we don't have comp time anymore, but if employees have the PTO time, can they use
Yeah,
that?
they can use PTO time.
Well, why not?
Some
They can do that.
don't have
Yeah.
it.
Some people complain, I don't have any way of using my PTO. Here's your chance.
Some are out of PTO and don't have it, they'll be short paid.
So
Just FYI.
I can offer 3 different options. I can offer that they take time unpaid because some people will ask for that. I can offer that they take PTO, which
Mhm.
some will want that, or I can offer the opportunity for somebody to make up the hours throughout the rest of this week, which some will
Good.
wanna do that.
Let's do that.
So they can have the choice and
Okay,
To me, that sounds fair.
whatever works best for
can you
them.
communicate that out to everyone?
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks for the textcaster thing for keeping.
Yeah,
employees
absolutely.
informed.
I thought that was good, and I think
Yeah.
whatever
I got
everybody
those.
else said about the attitude, so.
It's gonna be a blessing when it gets
Oh,
built.
me too.
We use that
Somewhere, you know what I mean?
Be really helpful.
Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah, probably like 8 for weather, 10 for weather.
Ed doesn't seem to have anything, Steve, so we're,
I'm sorry.
no, Ed, I just kidding him. He's sitting there like, hey, do something.
Catchers and catchers.
Kate,
what?
He's got work to
anything
do.
for us?
Already watching baseball.
Okay, very good. Well, if we don't have anything else, I guess we're looking for a motion to adjourn, guys.
So move.
Okay, thanks. We're adjourned.